NTV today. This morning we ask the question, what ails the retail sector, and is Uchumi on its way to revival? Now, but first we start with the top stories of the day, stories making news. The Office of the President will be spending 500 million shillings a month in the new budgetary allocations for the financial year 2018-2019. 11.2 billion shillings has been set aside for the presidency, a 26% increment from last year's budget. And as Mel Miendo now reports, this could also spell the end of austerity. That is also the story on the front page of the Daily Nation. Austerity, and then a question mark will teach on a spending spree. So let's see what Mel Miendo had to say on the subject.
If Kenyans thought austerity was alive, then they may have to think thrice at that, because the more taxes they will be subjected to, the more politicians will be enjoying it, and more so the office of the president. In the year 2017-2018, the country's budget shot up by 26%. Well, a huge chunk of that percentage will go towards the presidency, 11.2 billion shillings in the new financial year come July 2019, up from 8.8 billion allocated in the current fiscal year. This in itself represents a 2.3 billion shilling rise in the budget. Almost half of this amount will go towards the procurement of goods and services, catering for entertainment, hosting dignitaries, and the day-to-day running in the office of the president. But this was no ghost allocation. The Treasury increased the goods and services budget for the presidency from 4.9 billion to 6 billion this year. And this means that President Uhuru Kenyatta's office will be spending 16.4 million a day to just run its affairs, or better yet, 500 million shillings monthly. That's not all. Those working in the presidency will enjoy a pay rise after the compensation of employees' budget rose from 2.3 billion to 2.5 billion shillings. Of the top government officials to benefit the most from this pay rise is the president and his cabinet. In his final leg as the Commander-in-Chief, President Uhuru Kenyatta is set to enjoy a budget that is the highest in the last 3 years. This being the exact opposite from his promise of an austerity plan launched in 2014. Given that State House sets the tone of expenditure, the major increase in its budget is likely to give other government departments the confidence to demand for more. If and when the budget is approved with the quotations it currently has, then Common Mwananchi will experience what might become the worst nightmare in funding the country's budget. Mel Miendo, NTV.
There was panic at KRA offices in Mombasa as detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations camped at the premises, collecting documents and electronic data in the ongoing crackdown on KRA corrupt employees. As operation was ongoing at Forodha House, 4 Kenya Revenue Authority officials arrested in Mombasa were transferred via rail to Nairobi and driven away by detectives to a local police station where they spent the night. NTV's Seth Olale has the details, plus more on the ongoing KRA graft train crackdown.
The presence of detectives from the DCI Serious Crimes Unit at the Syokimau SGR Nairobi terminus signaled an impending arrest. 5 minutes to 2 p.m. Tuesday afternoon, officers swung into action, apprehending 4 people, all Kenya Revenue Authority staff based in Mombasa. The 4 staff, a male and 3 female, are employees stationed at the Strategic Pre-Inspection Office for Conformity at Kenya Revenue Authority offices situated at Forodha House in Mombasa. They were staffed inside the booths of waiting vehicles and rushed to Central Police Station, where they are currently being detained. KRA's Coast Region Coordinator Nicholas Kinoti confirmed to NTV that the 4 are employees who were arrested during Friday's crackdown and transferred to Makupa police station.
The team is charged with the responsibility of ensuring that the goods that enter into the country meet the Kenyan requirements and the Kenyan standards.
The four will spend the night in police custody and will be arraigned on Wednesday. At the Kenya Revenue Authority offices in Mombasa, detectives attached to the DCI camped in the premises for close to 4 hours. According to witnesses, the officers were accompanied by security officers from KRA and collected documents and electronic data from various units.
We allow the law enforcement agencies to perform their functions, to do the quality control and the quality checks, and there will be a lot of objectivity in the entire process.
48 other KRA staff that were ordered to surrender the DCI headquarters yesterday underwent further grilling in an exercise conducted by the Banking Fraud Unit and the Serious Crimes Unit. A source revealed that the suspects, mostly from the Domestic Tax Department and Customs Border Control Unit, are likely to be arraigned in court alongside the other 4 from Mombasa on Wednesday at the Anti-Corruption Court in Milimani. 38 others who were arraigned in court on Monday are serving a 14-day detention order at Muthaiga, Kileleshwa and Gigiri police stations. The Kenya Revenue Authority Board has moved in to defend Commissioner General John Njiraini. The board in a statement expressed confidence in the Commissioner General and management team at KRA despite the tax collector having repeatedly failed to attain revenue collection targets coupled with corruption allegations against employees. The forensic examination and analysis being undertaken involves retrieving call data and text messages of the suspects ranging from 1st July 2017 to May 9th, 2019. Detectives hope that the reports will be ready just in time before the lapse of the 14 days detention of the suspects as ordered by the court. Seth Olale, NTV at the DCI headquarters, Kiambu Road.
The 15 suspects who were arrested on Monday in connection with a gold syndicate in Kileleshwa Estate in Nairobi will be detained for 7 days to allow detectives more time to conduct investigations into the fake gold racket. At the same time, 2 more foreigners linked to the 400 million gold scam involving the United Arab Emirates royal family were arraigned before the court in yet another case where they are said to have defrauded a Kenyan of more than 3 million shillings in their illegal fake gold business. NTV's Zainab Ismail delves into the developing story that has dragged in a senator and a top government official implicated in the notorious and growing fake gold business.
Hiding their faces with sweaters and jackets, the 12 men and 3 women arrested on Monday evening at the Kapote Gardens over the alleged linkage to a gold syndicate in the country appeared before senior resident magistrate Paul Mayova. According to documents by prosecution as seen by NTV, the 15 were in possession of material indicating they were involved in an illegal transaction. During the raid on Monday, officers carried away large black boxes said to contain the fake gold. Out of the 15 suspects, 3 were foreigners and lacked identification documents and are suspected to be in the country illegally. Detectives say apart from the suspected gold scam trade, the suspects might also be involved in cyber-related crimes within and outside the country. Our visit to the residential home in question a day after the raid did not yield much. Neighbors and casual workers nearby who spoke to us on condition of anonymity told us there was a lot of activity here, but most suspected nothing of it, perhaps given the high-end status of the suburb.
For now, this building remains deserted. All we can find is the gate completely locked and no sign of anyone inside the premises.
The case involving the 15 suspects will be mentioned on the 21st of May. Also in court today in another fake gold fraud case were a Kenyan national, Mohammed Akbar Rashi alias Amit Gadhi, and a Bulgarian national, Stankov Petrov alias Viktor Roster. The two men who were arrested last Thursday and who are connected to the complex fraud scheme where a Saudi royal was conned of 400 million shillings that is now under investigation. In the current case, however, the two are said to have obtained 3.1 million shillings from one Lakshmin Narya Jindal by falsely pretending they were in position to sell 10 kilograms of gold. Akbar was granted 100,000 shilling cash bail, while Stankov was denied bail and further charged with unlawfully being present in the country for lacking identification documents. In the 400 million scam, it is believed that the well-connected syndicate managed to extort the money from the United Arab Emirates royal family by asking for a security to release about 5 tons of gold that had been seized at the JKIA. A senator who has been adversely named is under investigation for being part of the racket. Other top government officials are also under investigation. The fraudsters pretend they can get gold from the DR Congo for a good price. And with a huge price variation, investors are driven by the desire to make a killing by selling it to other buyers at higher prices. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
Kenyans turned up in large numbers to apply for the Huduma number a day after the government declared that the 18th May deadline, which is this coming Saturday, would not be extended. NTV's Helen Wanjohi interacted with Kenyans during the last-minute rush.
With Interior and Coordination CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i's announcement that no extension would be given, most Huduma registration centers in the country saw many applicants turn up, and the long queues that are typical of Kenyans in the last-minute rush to beat deadlines. At the Imara Daima Huduma Center, many braved the hot sun to register over fear of being blocked from accessing government services. It's barely 5 p.m. and the registration center has been a buzz of activity since 6 a.m. In the compound, a handful of men and women aggressively pushed each other waiting for their numbers to be called out. But despite the long delays, those who were lucky managed to register in the end. Prior to the official launch, the residents were apprehensive as they did not know what the exercise is all about. Others did not think the exercise was as serious. In Kisumu, just in front of the Tourism Information Center, a few staff handling the registrations work quickly and efficiently to try and beat the clock with the long queues in front of them. Their efforts, however, go unnoticed.
Sasa tunaamuka asubuhi, ukifika huku unapata line ni ndefu na watoto tunatoa kwa madarasa etili wapate hiyo namba. Sasa utapambana na line, hakuna kitu yenye unapata tena, unaambiwa urudi the next day.
In Mombasa, the Huduma Center at Posta, the mood was of dejection and resignation. To pass time, people engaged in small talk. Others just sat while others stood, awaiting their turn.
Services iko slow, but I still have some hope that nitafikiwa na nisaviwe leo.
Even with the Huduma number meant to run for 45 days, some people feel that they still need more time.
Rebo Matiang'i anaweza ongeza time siku because wewe sema leo ndio mwisho na kesho ndio inaisha.
Naomba waongeze time kwa watu kwa sababu Kenyans ni wengi.
Those registering from today will have to bear with the long queues. Whether they will all manage to squeeze into the 4-day window that remains unclear. Helen Wanjohi, NTV.
We now cross over to the Supreme Court, where Macharia Njeru, that is the former chair of the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, is due to be sworn in as the male representative of the Law Society of Kenya to the Judicial Service Commission.
Gazette notice number 4710, dated 13th May 2019, and published on the same date. And Honorable Mr. Justice David Majanja was appointed by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta via Gazette notice number 4713, dated 14th of May 2019, and published on the same date. Stella Muni was appointed by His Excellency the President by Gazette notice number 3036 dated 29th March 2019 and published on the same date. May I now call upon Mr. Macharia Njeru to take his oath of office. You are Christian?
I, Macharia Njeru, having been appointed member of the Judicial Service Commission under Article 171 2F of the Constitution, do swear that I will be at all times obey, respect and uphold the Constitution of Kenya and all other laws of the Republic, that I will faithfully and fully, impartially and to the best of my knowledge and ability discharge the trust, perform the functions and exercise the powers devolving upon me by virtue of this position without fear, favor, bias, affection, ill will or prejudice, so help me God.
Come with me. May I now call upon David Shikomera Majanja to take his oath of office.
I, David Shikomera Majanja, having been appointed member of the Judicial Service Commission under Article 172 2D of the Constitution, do solemnly affirm that I will at all times obey, respect and uphold the Constitution of Kenya and all other laws of the Republic, that I will faithfully and fully, impartially, and to the best of my knowledge and ability, discharge the trust, perform the functions, and exercise the powers devolving upon me by virtue of this position without fear, favor, bias, affection, ill will, or prejudice. So help me God.
Last but not least, may I call upon Stella Munyi to take her oath of office.
I, Stella Munyi, having been appointed under Section 31(4) of the Judicial Service Act as assisting counsel for the tribunal to investigate the conduct of Honorable Mr. Justice Jackton Boma Ojwang, Judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya, do solemnly swear that I will at all times obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution of Kenya and all other laws of the Republic, that I will faithfully and fully, impartially and to the best of my ability, discharge the trust and perform the functions and exercise the powers devolving upon me by virtue of this appointment without fear, favor, bias, affection, ill will, or prejudice. So help me God. So congratulations to all of you. And I now take this opportunity to ask Mr. Macharia Mjeru to make a few remarks.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Justice, for granting us an opportunity to be sworn in today. As I take oath of office today, I thank Almighty God for the opportunity. I thank my wife, Grace Cheruto Macharia, son Michael Njero Macharia, daughters Louise Ngina Macharia, and Kimberly Cherop Macharia for allowing me to spend many hours away from home as I campaigned. And I also thank my able team of campaigners and their supporters, the entire legal profession for believing in me, and the members of the public who constantly urge the legal profession to elect integrity. I'm alive to the fact that this is a position to serve and not for self-aggrandizement. There's a lot of expectations from both the lawyers I represent and the public that we serve as a profession. I undertake, Honorable Chief Justice, not to depart from the path that strictly answers to the desires and aspirations of these critical constituencies, for both are intertwined. Honorable Chief Justice, after the public, lawyers are the biggest stakeholders in the workings of the judiciary. They've sent me with clear instructions from which I'm enjoined not to depart. They've told me, among other things, the following. They do not want a representative appearing in courts or in tribunals in representation of clients or engage in any forms of conflict of interest by using the office for personal gain. They want the representatives to serve strictly for one term in order to give others opportunity to serve. They want the judiciary to be digitized. They want an efficient judiciary that sorts out practice issues in a manner that will ensure respect for their time, reduction of expenses, and expeditious conclusion of matters. They want a performance management mechanism that holds judicial officers and staff to account for their work. They demand that recruitment of judicial officers and staff be open, transparent, and professional. They want a JSC that expedites conclusion of complaints. Lawyers want JSC and judiciary that is independent of both the state and non-state actors. Lawyers are given strict instructions to pass a message they do not want cartels. They do not want cartels capture of the judiciary, whether by internal or external players. They also want a corruption-free judiciary. They want a good bar-bench relationship where mutual respect is observed by all players. They want a well-funded judiciary that also ensures funds received are used optimally. They want institutional systems and processes in place that guarantee a first-class judiciary. In conclusion, Honorable Chief Justice, lawyers have told me they want an accountable, ethical, and transparent JSC and a judiciary that has integrity. I assure you, Honorable Chief Justice, that I work with you and my fellow commissioners in building institutional frameworks that are respected and Kenyans will be proud of. I am confident it will be a commission that will be solely driven by public interest, that is professional in discharge of its work, that has robust corporate governance structures, and that is forward-looking. We owe it to our present and future generations. It is Malcolm X who said, "The future belongs to those who prepare for it today." I congratulate my fellow Commissioner David Majanja for his election and appointment. I have known him since his practice days and subsequently as a judge. He is highly regarded and respected by members of the legal profession. I am fortunate to take appointment with him on this day. God bless you, and thank you again, Honorable Chief Justice.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Njeru, and congratulations once again. Honorable Justice Majanja, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Honorable Chief Justice, guests here present. I am honored to be here today, and I find that it is a privilege for which I am very humbled to have the support of my brothers and sisters, the judges, magistrates, and Qadis. I only want to pay tribute to all of them who work so hard every day to deliver justice all over the country. And I pledge to you, Honorable Chief Justice, I pledge to my brothers and sisters, judges and magistrates and members of the public that I will do my utmost best to make sure that the judiciary remains independent and to enhance access to justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Majanja. We look forward to working with you. Chief Justice, it's now my privilege to ask you to. Yes, Stella requested that since her team spoke before, we could skip her, but maybe just come and say hello now that the Chief Justice thinks you must say something.
Coming up with the Chief Justice, I'm pleased to be here today. As I told the Chief Registrar that our chairman spoke. So actually, as the law profession says, you see, you respect what your senior says and you are bound to it, but I am pleased to be here and I will faithfully serve in the tribunal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Muni, and congratulations. Honorable Chief Justice, please come and address us.
The Honorable Commissioners who have just been appointed and the Secretary to the Tribunal, Reverend, and the visitors who are here, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm happy to welcome the two commissioners to the judiciary. You are well aware of the responsibility cast upon the Judicial Service Commission by Article 172 of the Constitution. Your work is to ensure that we have an independent judiciary, that we have an accountable judiciary, that we have a judiciary that serves the Kenyan people efficiently. I'm happy, Commissioner Njeru, that you have identified quite a number of issues that we are grappling with every day. So I expect that we are going to work together, and I want to thank you for your pledge that we work together as a commission and ensure that we deliver justice to the people. One important thing we all must remember is that the Article 172 requires representatives to be appointed by various institutions and some by the President. Upon your appointment, you become a commissioner, and your first duty, while you look back and see the constituency you're supposed to represent, but your first duty is to ensure that the rule of law is guaranteed, that the provisions of the Constitution are adhered to. Our sister Stella Muni, you were not here when the other commissioners were being sworn because you were out of the country. I also want to congratulate you and welcome you to the commission. It has already started from the correspondence I'm getting. It's already started work, so you will join and serve. You also know the importance of that commission, so I don't need to say anything about that. We, the Kenyan people, have bestowed upon you that responsibility of doing your bit so that the commission is facilitated to do its work. I want to thank you all for this and congratulate you on your appointment. Reverend, thank you very much for coming for this ceremony. This is the first time it is being done. It is at the request, not that we don't want prayers. It is the commissioners. Anybody who wishes to have prayers, we are not averse to that. In fact, we are very happy to have you. And that tells you how seriously Commissioner Njeru takes and considers his faith. And we expect that all will be done for the best interest of the country. Once again, I want to congratulate you all and wish you the very, very best. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Chief Justice. Congratulations once again. We've come to the end of this ceremony and we'll just proceed to the stairs out here to take a few pictures. So, please make way.
Macharia Njeru and David Majanja are now sworn-in members of the Judicial Service Commission. Macharia Njeru beating out Professor Tom Ojienda for the position. Tom Ojienda occupied the office for the last few years. And now Macharia Njeru, who's, as I said, the former chair, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, takes office. He did say that he intends not to use that office for personal gain. I don't know whether that was a jab at his predecessor, but he says to hold the judiciary accountable. David Majanja will be representing magistrates and judges on the commission, and he takes over from Agri Muchelule, who held the post for the last 4 years. Also sworn in was Stella Muni, who is the assisting counsel on the tribunal that was formed to investigate the allegations that have been leveled against Jackton Boma Ojwang, Supreme Court judge. And their swearing in comes just a few days after the Judicial Service Commission announced that Apollo Mboya, who had lodged a complaint against Supreme Court Judge Njoki Ndongo, withdrew it, and they, however, said tribunals will be formed to probe Justices Martin Mati Muya, Lucy Waithaka, and DK Njagi Marete. Now we cross over to the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, where the Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha is presently launching the National Curriculum Policy.
Director of KICD, who is technically the process owner, my colleagues from the ministry, senior ministry officials, our key stakeholders who are here, our brothers from the Fourth Estate, brothers and sisters from the Fourth Estate, and all of us here in today, good morning. Today we are here to launch our curriculum policy document, and the Director General has given you the history of this document. Some of us have been in the kitchen for very long on this particular document, and sometimes when you talk about the food that you are prepared, you might not be sure whether the taste is good. So I will leave it to the CS to be able to take us through on that particular aspect. But at this juncture, I would want to convey the apologies of our colleague, Dr. Kevin Desai, who is out of the country and would have wanted to be with us in this function. Or if he came back, he must have come back very late, but Kevin has been out and he should have been with us here. I would want to request Cheruyot so that we know our PSS who are here. You might not make comments, but you might want to acknowledge all of us who are here in today. So Alfred, please.
Thank you very much, PS. Our Cabinet Secretary, Professor Makoha, CAS, Professor Suda, colleague Belio Kipsang, Nancy Barasa, the CEO for NEC, TSC, Mercy, and everybody else. Good morning. I think mine is just to appreciate the work which has been done, this particular exercise on the curriculum policy. I know it has taken you quite so much effort to be able to achieve this. And we, as we come in as a new department for post-training and skill development, I believe we shall be able to fit in. I know you must have factored in your consideration because skills development is not new in the ministry. I know it's been happening, but probably under different sections in the departments. But I know we shall be able to put in, and as we said, it's a continuous process, we shall be able also to put in what we feel should be able to be included in terms of skills development. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, PS. So today, as we launch this document, which is our roadmap, I can tell you that the document has been guiding us. You can appreciate that this document, we started developing it in 2014. So we can say that we've been having a radar that was guiding us. We were not running on autopilot, we were properly guided. And therefore, with those very many remarks, I would want to invite the Chief Administrative Secretary and PS University Education, Professor Suda, to make our remarks, and thereafter invite the Cabinet Secretary to launch the document. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
Thank you. The Cabinet Secretary for Education, Professor George Magoha, the PS, Belio Kipsan, my other PS colleague, Alfred Cheriot, the CEO of TSC, Dr. Nancy Macharia, the CEO of NEC, Mercy Karogo, the Director General, Bwana Abdi, the CEO and our host, Dr. Julius Juan of KICD, the senior officers in the Ministry of Education, all the stakeholders, our development partners, representatives of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is a very special day for all of us, not just those in the education sector. And the reason I say so is because everyone, every single one of us is a stakeholder in education. It's either because, of course, all of us came out of this system, not the one we are launching today, but anybody who is doing anything in this country is a product of an educational system. Either it is your child, your cousin, your niece, your nephew, your sister, your brother. So everybody is a stakeholder. This is a very important sector, and what we are doing, the reforms that we are putting in place, the ones which we are driving now, we want to involve everybody. Public participation. It is a constitutional imperative. We want to carry everyone along so that nobody says I wasn't consulted. We value the views of everybody, and we want this document to be interrogated. We are launching it, and we hope that it is going to serve as a very strong framework for the implementation of the national curriculum, the CBC, that we are implementing right now. And therefore, I appreciate you having made time to come so that we launch it together, and we look forward to your continued support as we continue with the implementation process. I don't want to make a speech. I want to use this opportunity to thank all of you, particularly the technical committee that worked so tirelessly to put together the national curriculum policy. Asanteni sana. And with that clap, I need to now invite the Cabinet Secretary to come and make his remarks. Bwana Waziri.
Why is this thing not hanging?
Take this. You don't need it.
God is good. Please sit down. God is good. And all the time. I don't know why Joan has not put this thing in a place where it is convenient. Good morning. We thank God for giving us another day in our lives this morning. Professor Colette Soda, friend, now holding two positions, one of Chief Administrative Secretary and the other one as PS. My other colleague, Dr. Belio Kipsang. My very dear friend, Nancy Njeri Macharia, and Cheriot, and of course, Dr. Nancy Karogo, with whom I've worked at NEC, and my Director General. I've also seen Mudeo Kasanga, who was not recognized here, and you know she's a critical stakeholder. Do you know where she comes from? Because we have very many of our learners in the private sector. My dear colleagues and stakeholders, I don't want to get all of you, but I think within the ministry, without the ministry, our donors, and all the other critical stakeholders, we have many of you. I want to end by saying, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it was written that I will be the one who will launch this policy framework. I think God wrote it because the policy framework was completed very early, and you will even see that it has been signed off by the my immediate former Cabinet Secretary, Her Excellency Dr. Ambassador Amina Mohammed. But God had written that I shall be the one, Magoa, son of Magoa, to launch it. Therefore, it gives me a great pleasure indeed to preside over this launch of the first national curriculum policy for basic education, whose development has been made possible through collaboration between our ministry and various agencies. I take this early opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to all those who have supported this in one way or the other. And there are many critical stakeholders that have taken part in this, and I think you have just been told. The curriculum policy is one of the fundamental documents that will anchor the competency-based curriculum. And I want to take full responsibility on behalf of government for the delay in the launch of this curriculum. I have said time and again that this was because it was thought prudent that the policy should be launched alongside the session of paper, which, as you all know, has now been published and is in Parliament. But we have decided to launch it earlier anyway, and that's why we are here. Its launch today, therefore, is the clearest indication yet that the government of the Republic of Kenya is not going back on the process of the implementation of the competency-based curriculum. The rollout shall continue in a most well-organized, systematic, and highly professional manner to ensure that our children get quality education for a better future. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish also to announce that we have held robust engagement with stakeholders, including our honorable members of parliament, over the sessional paper number 1 of 2019, which the ministry submitted to the August House this year. I'm proud to announce that the final and revised document is before the House, and we hope that our legislators will be giving it most urgent consideration. Once passed, the sessional paper shall further enhance the legal and policy framework upon which the CBC will continue to be anchored. Curriculum, my topmost priority. During my first month in office, my team and I have accomplished the following. 1, we have held over 20 consultative meetings with critical stakeholders, and there are many, and we are continuing in that trajectory, and I believe now the next group is the clergy, whom we intend to meet. Some of these stakeholders include, and not limited to, the clergy, the National Parents Association, CUPED, civil society, including Illuminated Coalition, development partners, universities, professional and teacher associations, and some trade unions. I promise not to take my leg off the pedal, and you can take that to the bank. As far as the implementation of this competency-based curriculum is concerned, you can write what you want, but as I serve the children of this republic, I think it is right and just to keep my pedal on the accelerator. And if you don't want to be with me in that section, please leave and let us continue, because we shall implement. We shall implement the competency-based curriculum. We would like to have you with us. But if you are not there, you are also welcome, because it is your constitutional right not to be there. Because I have the majority, God on my side, the will of the Kenyan people, and the children and the teachers, I can assure you nothing is going to stop us from delivering. And that is the message I want to take to the other stakeholders. The ministry has distributed more than 12 million competency-based books to schools, and this process continues as I talk to you. And I want to assure you that when it gets completed by the end of this month, I shall personally, in body and spirit, go and confirm that our children, your children, have received the books that they require. I want to say here, before God and man, that I'm an intellectual of reasonable, incomparable abilities. So when I have gone to schools in the rural areas, and I see that children have textbooks in the ratio of 1:1, and I see that our very, very competent teachers are teaching them, and they are engaged, where the teacher is basically facilitating the children. What the hell do you want, and who the hell do you think you are to be saying that nothing is going on? None of us is Jesus Christ, for heaven's sake. And I want to assure the country, with all humility, that this is the right thing to do, and I want to thank them for moving with us in this direction. Together with our very good collaborator, the Teacher Service Commission, under the very dynamic and wise leadership of Dr. Nancy Njeri Macharia, with whom I must say I'm happy to work with somebody who sometimes is even faster than me. We have trained recently over 91,000 teachers. Field reports indicate that those teachers are now better, more confident in their delivery of the competency-based curriculum. And like Dr. Macharia has said, teacher training is going to be continuous. We cannot be perfect. So in August, we shall train the balance of the primary school teachers so that we shall be in good state in very good state for rolling into class 4 in 2020. Beyond that, we are going to continue to train those teachers using ICT facilities. And therefore, this notion that, oh, this is not enough, this is not enough. If you give birth to a premature child, by the grace of God, I'm a practicing physician, except that I can't practice now. But if you give birth to a child who is premature, do you say, no, let the mother go back to the theater and put the child back into the womb so that it can develop, or do you put the child in an incubator? No, this is what we are dealing with here. So all this nonsense of saying, oh, this and this, and it is not going to happen. It will not happen because we take the child into the incubator, we look for oxygen, we look for food, and the child becomes big and becomes the next president of Kenya. Period. The Good Ministry of Education of the Republic of Kenya this month trained an additional 1,400 education officers on the management and supervision of CBC in schools, including the methods that will be used in competency-based assessment. We expect that these officers will now do a more commendable job of ensuring that the overall delivery of CBC is up to the expected standard. Ladies and gentlemen, I have made certain changes, and I want to say in very simple English that I shall continue to make those changes. I want to have a critical team in the ministry that shall help me to deliver the competency-based curriculum. If you don't belong to that team, you can help me to do other things. So we are going to continue making those changes. Everybody says I run. Yes, I run. You must learn how to run with me because time is the only thing that we cannot save. And I want to thank those with whom we are together for their support that has made us to reach where we have reached this morning. The ministry has stepped up the communication and messaging processes of CVC activities, and I want to accept and admit before the public that communication perhaps is our weakest point. Many stakeholders have said so, and we are going to ensure that now every Kenyan public knows precisely what we are doing, so that those who are spreading propaganda can be known, because we are going to give you facts and figures. And like I've said before, I'm not going to sit in my office to get reports. When I talk to you, I'll be talking to you from what I've seen, with my good eyes, which our great God has still allowed me to use in seeing. As you can see, I can read. Over the next few days and months, I wish to assure the public that we will be doing everything possible to ensure that we do not drop the ball. My policy is this. At strategic level, our eyes are engaged on the ball, which is the CBC. At the tactician level, at the tactical level, our eyes are engaged on that CBC. And at operational level, our eyes will remain engaged on the ball. So who do you think you are that is going to take the ball away? Just tell me, who do you think you are? You can't go against the whole nation. Are we together? And I want to urge you not to spend the slightest of your time thinking about things that are totally inconsequential. I need you to get for me the balance of the water that shall fill the glass that we want to give our child. That child that has no parents. That child that is in the gutter. That he has the same opportunities as Magoha's child or as any other person's child. That is why we are here. Are we together? The ministry will launch countrywide, ladies and gentlemen, dialogues to enhance stakeholder engagement to increase sensitization on CBC. But over and above that, I want everybody here, from the regional directors on both sides, from the ministry and from TSC, to breathe competency-based in all your meetings where you are. And I will ask my colleagues in Interior to do the same, so that the Kenyans are aware that this is the next stage where our children are going to go. The conversation must increase. These dialogues, which I call on the national conversation on CBC, will involve relevant education agencies like NEC, KICD, the ministry, even our dear TSC and any other. Why is our country lagging behind? You can say we are local champions, not good enough. Do you get the point? Why are we lagging behind? Because we spend too much time thinking about nothing, talking about nothing. We should focus on issues that are measurable. And this time, as we are first among equals, because we are in a team where I'm only first among equals, can we synergize our energies to deliver? It is possible, because this is what will take Kenya to the next stage. The national conversation will culminate. All these things we are doing, including improved communication, which we shall use both electronic and print media to do, will culminate by the grace of God in a national conference on education to be held in August. August, because I think it is good and prudent for us to meet the critical stakeholders at the individual level, and also to review the rollout and how it has been succeeding. And I have said before, there was a cartoon which showed me like a buffalo. I think it was a good cartoon. Do you get the point? So if you look at that cartoon, then you know what I'm going to do. Because I will come to schools myself. I don't want to be met by my senior officers when I'm going to schools. They should also go and do what I'm doing, so that I have a first-hand information. If there are critical areas that require review, we review them. By August, we should be able to be told, this is how far we have succeeded. But I'm not going to wait for your reports. I'm doing it myself. Do you get the point? And truly, what I've seen up to now, I'm very happy, because originally they were saying, oh, you know, ECD, they are placed, where are they going to be placed? I've gone to about 10 primary schools, and I see the children are in primary schools and they are being taught. So who are you talking a lot of nonsense? Eh? Why don't you go to the field and see for yourself what the teachers are doing there? Oh, you know, because the counties will be involved, now there will be problem with teachers. Why don't you go to the field and check? And I'm charging all of you, because you are being paid by the good government of the Republic of Kenya, and all those others like my sister Kasanga and everybody else. Go to the field and help us to monitor and tell us this is what we are getting from the field. And we shall also appreciate that you have done so. The national conference will form the basis of a roadmap for our rollout, which we should have been ready for by that time. Because the most important constant in this process is the learner. If the learner has been empowered with the wherewithal to learn, the next important person is the teacher, and we are training them. So we should be able to roll to the next level.
Education CS Professor George Magoha launching the national curriculum policy. His question to the ish stakeholders who I take to mean the Kenya National Union of Teachers is, who do you think you are, and what what do you think, what was it? Yes, who do you think you are and what the hell do you want? He says, as a nation, we are lagging behind because we spend our time talking about nothing and thinking about nothing. But that is not what's going to happen on NTV today this morning. We are discussing matters retail sector just a couple of hours after Uchumi entered an agreement with its creditors to take a 70% pay cut on their 3.6 billion debt. That's what, 2.5 billion of your bill. And to take that conversation further with me in studio is the Uchumi CEO, Mohamed. Karibu sana.
Asante.
We're looking forward to hear your sentiments on that. Are you breathing a little easier now?
First of all, to clarify, it's not a 70% haircut.
Uh-huh.
What we requested the suppliers was a 30% discount, and the 40% is somehow deferred based on the business performance, because it's going to be converted into convertible preferred shares. So as long as the business performs, eventually, that money can be paid back to the suppliers, or it could be converted in future, because we are going to be having those regular reviews with creditors. That is part of the agreement that we had. So whatever happened on Monday was really a vote of confidence, where we had a majority of the unsecured creditors willing and wanting to continue to work with Uchumi. It's a great opportunity for us, and I do hope that this time we get it right and we can be able to, to succeed in this.
Okay,
Yes.
Next to him is Vivian Ta of the Vivian Ta Fashion House. We are happy to have you on board. How did you receive that news? You say 30%, not 70%.
70% is really scary for people, when you talk about it.
How did you receive the news, Vivian?
I think it's good news for Uchumi. They've gone through a really challenging time of the past couple of years. So to get a little, reprieve or break is good news. And also, as just a resident, part of the public, we really would like to see Uchumi come back.
All right.
Yeah.
Also with us in studio is Willie Kimani. He's the chair of the Retail Trade Association of Kenya. We are happy to have you as well.
Thank you.
How did you receive the news?
Well, it's quite encouraging. To be very honest, what you're looking for, which is actually what we've been discussing with the PS of Trade and all that, is how we can just bring in suppliers and retailers to collaborate together and just basically make the retail sector more vibrant and all that. We want everybody and all this. There's so many people who are dependent on these companies, most of these retail stores. So the survival of these retail chains is very critical to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mohammed, does this mean your shareholders have something to look forward to now? This was a critical part of your recovery plan.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah. Well, at least we can say that the stakeholders' wealth or shareholders' wealth will be preserved for now, because it provides a chance for the business to be able to continue in future.
Okay, so there was a 6.9% bump in your share price?
I have just noticed today, yes, because it had gone to below 30 cents, now it has come to above 30. But so let's see how it goes.
So
the main thing is for the business to get back.
Well.
Yes.
Okay, so how many branches do you have open now?
We have approximately, we have 6, plus there's one for the franchise, okay, and there's one, and one which belongs to Uchumi is not operating for the time being, but we do hope that we can be able to activate it.
Okay.
soon. Yeah.
So 6.
Yeah, 6.
Okay. So part of what you did in to sort of carry out an assessment and provide a game plan was form a team in December 2018. Yes. And
yes.
part of what I read about was that you plan on opening smaller franchises?
Well, we're looking at different ways of how we can be in the market, because we're not looking to compete with others, and because the rest of the other players have already carved out the market. So we are looking to play into, because the market is huge. So of course there are those aspects of looking at the convenient and smaller stores and the franchising, and of course the adoption of technology moving forward, and to see how things like e-commerce can help us to penetrate further into the market.
Okay, so the franchise would be Uchumi Express.
Uchumi Express is a separate one. Franchise is separate.
Okay.
Yes.
So can you explain the difference?
Uchumi Express is part of like the convenience stores. Mm-hmm. It's just an express model where you take the supermarket to the people.
So those are the smaller stores you're talking about.
Stores.
Okay.
It's just the express shops. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Why go the franchise route?
Well, I've talked about it so many times. First of all, there are even so many international brands right now who are pursuing the franchise route. And like I mentioned before, this is a way of maintaining certain controls in the growth pattern of the organizations, and ensuring that you can be able to, your presence is still felt in the market, you're able to manage your costs, and you create ownership in those branches. Because when it's franchise, if you're running a franchise, you run it as your own. And so we'll focus more. It's an opportunity now for us to look at it, to pursue it as a different business model to grow further.
Okay.
It also allows, I mean, for purposes of the business, it's a good opportunity also of not tying up your cash, because it's a co-investment, because the franchisee basically is supposed to invest in some of the fixtures and fittings. So personally, I think it can be pursued further, because it works with some of these international brands that we've seen. And I think let's see in the next few months how successful that model has been. Yes.
Do you shop at Uchumi?
Of course.
You do?
Yes.
Well, if I come into Uchumi, I won't just find aisles and aisles of drinking water. There is variety. There are vegetables, there are fruits, there's unga.
I'm going to be honest with you, because we've not been having supplies. Okay, so, but we've been trying to, at least a fair number of products that are starting to get back on the shelves. And I'm impressed with the team on the ground in Uchumi, because they're really engaging the creators, but mostly on a cash basis together. Now, with whatever's been agreed on Sunday could allow us, give us an opportunity now to engage with those suppliers who are not on board, to see if there could be any sort of credible terms that we can work with, because there's still going to be further engagement on this. And yes, we do expect to see that the shelves can be restocked as soon as possible. Okay. But of course, if you go to some of these branches, like some branches that you go to, you'd be able to find that they're fairly well stocked. Even our franchise in Nairobi West is fairly well stocked.
Okay. Willie and Vivian, please do forgive me. I know he'll need to leave in a few minutes, so I want to get as many questions directed at him as possible out of the way. How many employees do you now have under your portfolio?
Less than 250 right now.
Less than 250?
Yes.
You previously served as a chief financial officer.
Yes.
Did that give you a special perspective that perhaps Kipngetich and Siano did not have?
Special perspective about the brand or about the company?
About revival of Uchumi.
Well, just for information, I mean, I've known about Uchumi for a long time. And having been the CFO, yes, he provided me some bit of insight on the numbers. And I worked well with the previous, we used to work together with the previous CEO who left. I also learned a lot from him. So, but I think right now where it is, and to drive the business forward, required a lot of dedication. And that is what we're trying to do, because even the team on the ground right now is really dedicated to see how this company can turn around. So it's not only myself. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to achieve it as Mohammed, but the entire team has actually been supporting, from the board to the senior management, and even just to everyone up to the person on the ground. They've had the belief that this company can be able to come back, and that belief drives me.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do you think this turnaround will happen? The ship will turn, the tides will, be in your favor, that I will walk into an Uchumi and find whatever it is that I have on my shopping list?
Uchumi has so many stakeholders. I mean, there's so many parties, so many people that you've got to engage. And what I see is that most people expect the turnaround to happen overnight. It won't happen overnight, because you've got to get all the stakeholders on board. They must support you fully in that path, in that journey. And like I mentioned before, of course, if they do all come on board and we are able to fully stock our branches, the growth pattern first is to get to a break-even point, and then eventual profitability. And those numbers, according to our projections, will only happen after 12 months. And you see, even when you talk about turnarounds, you see, the first and the most important thing is to get to that point of normalcy, at least where now Uchumi can be able to comfortably meet its expenses and, without any strain. And then now you start implementing some of these new strategies. But it doesn't mean that we are not going to explore having these strategies work to be tested or to be implemented concurrently, while trying to get the business to back on its feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're facing what, 45 legal suits?
We only have one suit right now.
Okay.
Because they're all enjoined under the winding up process.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So because now when we went to the winding up process, all the ones who had the suits and join. So I think maybe you're talking about petitioners, the people who are joined the winding up. Yeah, I think possibly, I'm not very sure of the number, but those are joined. But the same people, I mean, we also had quite a significant number of the same people who had joined the petition who had also come to register their debt, because the process required that you register for your debt. I mean, you register your debt, and that's now when you are able to come for the meeting. So the way it is right now is subject now to the court giving direction on the 30th of May. That is now the time now we can say how this thing is fully taking off. Now, whatever happens, I think whatever happened on Monday, as far as I'm concerned, was a sign of good things, the goodwill that suppliers have for the brand and the company. Now the rest, after this, the independent supervisor does his report, the further direction now will come, will be provided by the court on the 30th, because the court required us to have that meeting as soon as possible before it will determine the winding up case.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I plead with you to please stay with us to the other side of this very short break.
Okay.
Welcome back. You're watching NTV today. My name is Olive Burrows, and with me in studio to discuss matters retail sector is Uchumi CEO Mohammed, who were engaging just before the break. We have Vivian Ta, fashion house proprietor, and a brand as well. She's also a governance analyst. And we also have Willie Kimani, who's the chair of the Retail Trade Association of Kenya. Willie, I'll bring you in at this point. I was asking you before the break, like, where is Nakumatt at now?
Yeah, all the stores. Nakumatt has some stores that are still operating. We're talking about Lavington Cove, at Mega, Nakuru and all that. So Nakumatt is still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are suppliers willing to, because that was the issue that Mohammed raised, are suppliers supplying them?
Yeah, everybody has actually come up with a way of actually being able to get some sort of agreement on some supply agreement with their respective suppliers. So I believe the arrangement that they have is actually keeping things moving on.
Okay.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, I think there's always a way of how you can be able to engage. It all depends with the discussions points. Some will actually maybe require some bank guarantees here or there, others some cash payments, others maybe you already have the goodwill that already has been existing and all that, and that's actually keeping some of the chains actually still going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would ask this. Why has it proven so, okay, I know Mohammed tells us it's not an overnight process, but it seems like it's been going on for quite a while. Uchumi trying to come back, Nakumatt followed suit, and they seem to be struggling. Well, we have international players who appear to be now flooding the Kenyan market. We have Carrefour, we have Game, we have ShopRite, I believe, at Westgate. Yeah. We also have, there's one more store, my producer.
Choppies,
yeah, Choppies. What are we not getting right?
No, to be very honest, what's actually not being seen is that even the local players are growing. If you look at Tumaini has opened up just 2 or 3 stores. We are looking at Quickmart now in Lavington. The Bypass have opened more than 5 shops in the last 2 years. We're looking at Clean Shelf going all the way, opening up in Umoja. We have Food Plus has actually opened up. We have Tuskys has actually opened up more stores. Naiva has actually done the same. Magunas has opened more than 3 or 4 stores. In a nutshell, retail is growing. Yeah, we're actually growing, and according to Sagachi numbers, the research company, we were actually valued at 11%, which has actually grown to 13% modern trade growth, which is a 2% growth. And if you actually look at the AC Nielsen report, which is actually what most people relate with, modern trade has actually gone from 32 to around 32%. So there is actually good growth. And if you bring in the new partners, your Choppies, your Game, your Carrefour and ShopRite and all that, even Village Supermarket, these guys have actually come up and were bound to. Anyway, I think they have actually always been trying actually to, and if you look at someone like Game, had actually even joined even before all this time when I was actually there. ShopRite has always been trying to actually get into the Kenyan market, and even by the time Carrefour was coming in, we still had some sort of where they came in were more of greenfield at the hub and at the Two Rivers Mall, and we can actually say as soon as Kenya was classified as a middle income economy, very many other brands started coming in. Your KFCs of this world, your LCY Kikis, your Decathlons. So
these supermarkets are generally the anchor tenants.
Yes, yes. So there is definite good growth. Kenya is actually, it's the second most modern retail modern trade market in Africa after South Africa, meaning it is bound to attract new players into the market. And to be very honest, these new players have also helped and assisted the local players to up their game. And they're assisting the local players to up their game by virtue of how the store set out is, the kind of operation that we are doing, and also the supply engagement, the kind of supply engagement that
so it's good for the consumer?
Very good for the market in general and for the economy in general. If you noticed even during the President's State of the Nation address, one of the key pillars he actually mentioned was the growth of retail and wholesale, which actually he has actually put it at around 6.3%, which is quite not bad. It's higher, yeah.
Okay, but now are we at risk of having too many options? Because I look at malls and then you have, okay, I don't want to name names, but you have like 3 malls like just down the road from one another. And then one is empty, one is packed, the other one, you know, maybe still under construction. Yeah. The malls that are not doing too well.
So one of the key things we're actually saying is that discipline is an issue. We really need real estate discipline. Because at least the mall needs to be given at least 3 years to actually mature, and then now you put up the next store. But from where we sit now, the retailers are just going to occupy the available space. To be honest, what's actually this is helping is that now the negotiations between a retailer and a developer are actually going more of this changing, because it's bringing down the cost of per square foot rental charge, because now there's more square footage availability. So that's where it's actually leading to. But there's definitely need for discipline on those quarters. If you look at all the counties that we have, there are so many counties that are still not served by modern trade. But yet we now all go line up in Limuru Road, or we go line up on Karen. That whole stretch has more than 7 malls. So that definitely needs some bit, because what will people will be doing will just be cannibalizing rather than bringing more people and growing that pie of 13% maybe to 17%. In fact, in a nutshell, if you go by Sagachi numbers, it means we can actually multiply times 9 everybody's chain in Kenya and still not fully service the market.
Okay. I'll look at a story that was carried by Business Daily in 2017, and I know that it was written by Mudhoki Mumo, and I don't know whether it feeds into what you're saying, but it reads, French retailer Carrefour suffered its first regulatory setback since entering the Kenyan market with rejection of its application for exclusive occupancy of Nairobi's Two Rivers Mall. So I guess that was to sort of prevent that cannibalization you're talking about.
Yeah, well, to be very honest, if you actually, for example, go to that mall, one of the retailers will be benefiting, the other will not. And we're in a free market.
But there is a Chandarana, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a Food Plus. And I think what Carrefour at that particular point was looking after was, you are the same developer who has given me my site, and then tomorrow you set up another site right next. So the key word was within my agreement with you, and which now at least legally, most retailers actually being able to key this in their lease agreements, such that if I am actually in an agreement with you and you're my developer and you've developed a good proper mall for me, I have now put in my projections for growth for that particular store at these numbers, and then you are the same developer, you just go and develop another one 100 meters or 200 meters and get another retailer in, then we're not in sync. But I don't have control over if another developer comes in and does the same. So this clause was actually not, was a clause that it needs to be revisited, to be very honest, because it's just a cannibalizing bit that actually happens. And then you also want some sort of forward planning, because when you're putting in your budget numbers for a particular store, you're doing for your like-for-like numbers, you just need to know that this unit is going to perform this way 3 years down the line. So if the person I've actually partnered with now again goes and opens less than 3 kilometers away and does the same thing, you're killing me.
All right.
Yeah.
Vivian, do you diagnose a governance issue in the troubles that Nakumatt and Uchumi have experienced?
I mean, I hear Mohammed and Willie both saying they're very optimistic about seeing growth and all that, and I'm wondering, wow, okay, because, you know, Kenya is actually ranked 8th globally as one of the countries with the highest number of people living below the poverty line. When you put it into perspective, they say that's about 42% of the population. So we are talking about 18.5 million people living below the poverty line. In my view, the way retail survives or grows is people having disposable incomes and being able to purchase. Because when you go to a supermarket or, you know, a retail store, most people buy household goods, bread, milk, you know, sugar. And if your disposable incomes are reducing, or, you know, a lot of people are living below the poverty line, then where are they getting this growth from? Because essentially you need people's incomes to grow for them to be able to purchase, for you to be, it's a ripple effect, for you to be able to grow. So I'm not seeing where, you know, logically this growth is going to come from, unless we start from making sure people have increased incomes. Right now, even the incomes people are earning, you know, it's continually being eaten into. You know, you have now the housing fund scheme, which is also going to eat into people's incomes. You have pay as you earn, you have VAT. We have now VAT on fuel, which wasn't there before. And, you know, that impacts on cost of transport. Cost of transport impacts on cost of goods, cost of manufacturing. Our energy costs are pretty high, which impacts on, you know, the final price of the goods on the shelf. So I'm wondering, you know, when I hear them talking about growth, I'm like, okay, what are we missing?
Actually, Mohammed, did you have a sleepless night last night because the fuel prices went up?
Yeah, they went up drastically. Okay, I know that prices of commodities are going up.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Can I say that the rain somehow failed? Of course, we do anticipate that possibly in the near future, unless the government does something, that the cost of food, like the unga, is going to go up. But Vivian, if you look at the trend, you know, retail is holistic, and the retail now is where you have modern trade. And I think each one of those has a different market. And if you look at some of even the most profitable companies in Kenya, you know, they've operated on trying to optimize on what's on the bottom of the pyramid market. If you look at M-Pesa or, you know, things like Safaricom, if you look at Equity Bank on agency banking and everything. So there's opportunity down there. People use, it's about volumes. Because if you look at the value of those like M-Pesa transactions, it tells you the magnitude and of how the retail sector can move up to. What I see under the modern trade is there's going to be a likely shift, because if we look at some people like Nakmat, they had almost everything under one roof.
Yeah.
I see current supermarkets now trying to avoid that, because that was one of the things that will tie up the cash. Because, you know, you can't have even like you know, at times I think I even saw a motor vehicle in the showroom. So, but because people, now what I see the retailers trying to do will be to optimize and focus more on the fast-moving products, okay? And even for what is not moving, in order to support those businesses, I know the concept may change in terms of, I think we'd be paying for what has been sold, because there has to be a win-win situation. If you are bringing a product and it's not going to, and after doing all the marketing and everything on the floor, and it doesn't move, it's unfortunate. It will be unfair also for the retailer to pay for that in 30 days. But I know we still have to support those businesses, and I foresee now some of those shifts whereby some of those products will have, you know, might have their own shops. Like now you'll have the Waikikis more happening, more specialized clothes shops, more specialized electronic shops, and these other now, and the supermarkets focusing on the fast-moving consumables, personal care, a bit of the white and brown goods, and that's how I foresee the trend. And it's going to be the concept in the next 3 years. You will see some changes of scope of how the business is going to be done within the modern trade and even retail as a whole.
Okay, Willie, you wanted to come in at that point?
Yeah, so just once where growth is coming from. We have modern trade and then we have general trade. So modern trade is actually going in more specific to the GT areas, as in areas that are actually completely not served. For example, if you actually, let's say, to take the first time we went into Kitui, and at that particular point, you're actually finding that modern trade prices are actually lower. That means now you're now bringing in people into the store, and that's the kind of growth you're talking to. And of course, there's population growth that's actually really happening at this particular moment. So people have to eat at the end of the day. And what you have actually seen is that things are changing. You're actually finding, if you go to, let's say, Umoja and Clean Shelf are set up there, you've actually even put a fish market, and the Kenyan today is actually buying in, the consumption habits is changing. He's trying out things like shrimps, he's trying out turkey, what. So this kind of changes, and because he's more informed, the Kenyan consumer is actually no more informed. He's not only just not going to buy in Kimbo and all, no. He's actually understanding, okay, what's olive oil now? But that can only be found in modern trade. And this is actually how now those consumption habits we are actually really mapping up on. And you'll actually find, for example, the like of the price points we have with the likes of someone like LC Wakiki and Tuskys Mavazi. If you compare the kind of quality of clothes that they have vis-a-vis Mutumba and all those things, and the price point, people now starting to say, hey, why should I be buying a second hand? And there's almost a new product here that I can actually be able to buy. And that's now that consumer engagement and people now getting enlightened. And with this, of course, the government gains, because this is more of a well-regulated area. So as RITRAC, we are really trying to make sure that we support each and every retailer to just reach to his maximum potential. So a lot of consumer education and all that. If I can just name a few quick things that maybe what happened that have actually caused all this. We have issues of calamities. For example, you saw what happened in Westgate, unfortunately. We have corporate governance issues. We have infrastructural changes. So you have a very nice mall set up in a very good location, and then just the next minute there's a new road, Northern Mall is no longer accessible, or that mall has to go. Things like that, unit by unit performance. And then there are the strategies like Mohammed has actually mentioned, actually having so many items within the category management is actually not really working. Shrinkage is a very big issue that most retailers have had. Losing stock, both by paper loss, by shoplifting and the likes. Of course, expansion plans to some of outside the region also affected some of, because when people were expanding and going out there, we're having currency risks and all those things, and people are not maybe ready. And again, funding working capital and capex using short-term debt for this sector is whereby we operate on very thin margins. most retailers net, it's a volume game.
Mohammed said that.
Yeah, so if you don't get the right volume, and you have debt that you have to actually, and your net margin is actually not right, then you're actually bound to struggle through.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of consumer engagement between RETRAC and the retailers to just make sure that we don't go that route. Yeah.
Okay. Mohammed, I know I need to let you go, so just one more question. Do you see some of these retail chains, because Willie tells us the retail sector is growing, but do you see some of these retail chains making perhaps some of the same mistakes that Nakumatt and Uchumi made?
I agree about it. I think there may be some few challenges because I see some of those mistakes happening, I'll be honest. And it is my hope that we can be able to nip it in the bud soon, because it will be very unfortunate for people to lose out in case any other chain happens to get affected. It will really be unfortunate.
Okay. Yeah. Any you can point out, perhaps?
No, I'm just saying.
All right. We do wish Uchumi the very best. Thank you for spending the last 1.5 hours with us. We release you. But Willie and Vivian, I still have questions for you, so please do not go anywhere. And with you, Willie, there are regulations that were meant to govern the supply sector, to protect suppliers. Just 1 second, Mohammed, they need to take off your lapel. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So where are we at with those regulations?
One of the key things that we actually did under the guidance of the Ministry of Trade is actually setting up some sort of an MOU, whereby it's a code of conduct that was agreeable between our members and the suppliers, of which the main key thing here is agreeing that I shall respect what I've said. Whatever supply agreement I actually have with my supplier, I shall respect that. That was actually lacking. So what was actually happening was that most suppliers just used to have a trader's thing of just dumping in the goods there, and retailer sales on this side. They have not agreed on pretty much how much will I buy, what should be the actual, what should I do to actually make sure that those goods are actually picked up, how will I pay you, what will happen if I don't pay you on time, what will happen for the goods that are damaged, what happens if I pay you, even at times it's a reverse, what happens if I pay you before the time reaches and all that. So what we have actually heard and seen is now engaging our members and making sure that they engage suppliers so that everybody has some sort of agreement. Because what we actually saw in most cases, when you actually read out between the, let's say, the Nakumatt and Uchumi cases, is that most suppliers do not have backing documents to say, hey, you know what, clearly this is the trade agreement, this is a supply agreement that I have actually had with person X, so he's actually in breach, and that's why you'll notice, not unless people now are just talking about, okay, well, clearly this invoice has really surpassed, and I used to be paid sometimes 30 days, sometimes 60 days, sometimes 90. Now here we're trying to tell people, nope, make sure you have a supply agreement, agree on the terms, and based on that, this is what is going to happen. So the regulation now will come in absence of this now, then this is actually what is going to. So the trade bill actually, I believe, is now in Parliament, where they'll actually be able to discuss this. But in essence, the code of conduct already takes that. Because remember, this is a free market, meaning it's about what I agree with my suppliers that actually takes forth. Because if today you actually to sell me this glass, and the agreement between me and you is that if I sell 10 pieces, you give 20 or anything, no regulation will ever come and try and actually define that agreement that we already have with between myself and a supplier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vivian, do you see that regulation as being overdue?
I think so, yes, and I think it's important to have, regulation, especially because of the suppliers. I think in the past, a lot of suppliers suffered because of the payment terms. So you agree on 30 days or 60 days, but you have dues paid after 120 days, and you have no recourse. So it's just depending on how you agreed with the retailer, and sometimes it's because there's no regulation protecting you. It's basically on sort of a gentleman's agreement, unless of course you have something in writing, like Willie says. So yeah, definitely overdue.
You run a fashion house.
Yes.
Do you enter into these sorts of agreements with your clients?
Not currently, no. Yes, no, we don't. I don't deal with retailers like the supermarkets. So no, I've not entered into any kind of agreement like that before.
But basically the idea is when you have a client and I want you to design something for me, a uniform or a dress.
Yes.
We'd agree basically on the terms,
Yes,
right? We'd
yes.
say, okay, whether I'd need to pay a deposit up front, how many pieces do I want, and when
Yes,
you
so you
expect
agree on
payment
the terms
delivery and all that. So it's
beforehand.
more or less the same idea, yeah? Why has it taken so long then for those regulations to come into force?
Actually, we did this with CAM. We started more than 4 years back. And it's good actually we also have the Supply Association coming in through with us, and together the four parties with the Trade Ministry, we're able to come up with this code of conduct. It took long because it's not easy trying to take and bit and bite from the expectations by manufacturers, expectation by suppliers, and of course retailers. At one point we also do not also want to be bullied into a corner because we want more of a traders engagement. You can never force a union of two people. But now we were trying to come up with a document that somehow brings and defines how a union should be without when there is no particular signed agreement. So that's why it took long, but I'm happy that finally we agreed on those points, because it's agreeing. For example, how do you treat the small vendor who is just bringing in fruits and vegetables, yet you also have, you can't treat him the same as Brookside.
That's true.
You can't treat him as the same as a multinational Unilever, but at the same time even Unilever himself and Procter & Gamble have different terms, but you have to come back with one document that actually somehow puts all those people at ease. So it was a hard task. 4 years, yes, and the code of conduct we were able to come up with it.
Was that all order?
It's all order, yes.
Olive,
Okay.
I also wanted to just mention, I think one of the other things is we probably, like the market didn't anticipate the growth, in terms of the dynamics, the changes in consumer behavior and needs. And so as changes started happening, maybe that's when the realization that, okay, we could also change to, put this into our context. Also want things put into proper perspective, then there's need to now get something in writing.
Okay, so there are a lot of lessons that we can take away.
Yes.
Okay, we did break some news earlier for you, and that is that 7 KRA staff were denied anticipatory bail by Justice Luka Kimaru. Now, for a bit more detail, let's join Seth Olale, who I believe is at the Milimani Law Courts. Seth, what transpired in the courtroom? What transpired in the courtroom? All right, we'll try and get a hold of him for you. But basically, the 7 KRA staff were denied anticipatory bail by Justice Luka Kimaru. These are updates that were sent in by Seth Olale. A total of 15 KRA staff to be arraigned in court today, including 4 employees who were arrested in Mombasa and transferred to Nairobi yesterday. The suspects are currently at the basement cells of the Milimani Law Courts, awaiting the court session to commence. Once we have Seth back up, we'll go directly to him. I'll come back to, apart from your role as the chair of RETRAC, you're the chief commercial officer, Naivas.
Yes, please.
Do all these new entrants into the market give you sleepless nights?
Absolutely not. The market is untapped. Just go towards Kangore. There's no supermarket. Go towards Kirinyaga side. There's no supermarket. Go to Lamu, Malindi, Voi. There's such a big room for expansion, and most of these new players are actually also coming in. There are things that you're learning from them. There are also things that you're also learning. We're actually quite proud as Naivas to have actually been at the forefront of the new fresh market concept, which you can actually see the smaller retailers, tier 2 to 3 retailers also picking up. So we are coming up and innovating differently. So as Naivas, we are trying as much as possible to cover way such that people know who we are, how we do, and I can say that it doesn't give us sleepless nights at all, and we know our game, and best part about it, we know our customers.
Okay.
Yes, and it's proud to actually be the #1 retailer at the moment because we we know exactly how to keep at it.
Okay, Vivian, where do you shop? Or do you shop at several places depending on convenience?
Several places.
What informs, you know,
the
what
layout, like if it's easy to, you know, walk in, pick whatever you need, and of course also the products that are available. You know, one of the most frustrating things is walking into a supermarket, then you want a certain brand and it's not there. And let me just say this because I'm not affiliated to these people. I really miss Nakumatt. I mean, it was one of those
it's what
stores.
Mohammed said, you could get everything under one
it was
roof.
one of those stores where, you know, on your list, you just check off everything. Now you have to, you know, you walk into Naivas, you'll miss 3 things, then you have to go to Taskies, then you have to go to Choppies. It's like when you go shopping for goods, you have to plan to walk into 4 different stores to just get what you need.
Okay.
So really, it's one of those things. I think my view, Naivas, okay, I'll talk of Naivas because
can I come
here.
back to that, please?
Yes.
All right, we finally have Seth Olale back up. Seth, what transpired in the courtroom with regard to these KRA staff members?
Thanks so much, Olive. The latest news, or rather the breaking news, should be that KRA staff who are directly implicated in the allegations of abetting tax evasion have been denied what is called anticipatory bail, meaning that they have been ordered to report at the DCI headquarters by 1 p.m. today, and that means that their hope of not being detained by the detectives from the DCI, actually now that hope has really is gone away, and what is left for them is just to, you know, surrender themselves at the DCI headquarters. But also we have another development, because we also have about 4 other suspects who are among 15 others that are supposed to be arraigned here at the Milimani Law Courts. We are talking about Joseph Kuyo Ligei, Geoffrey Kipsangeno, Felix Ndamboki, as well as Caleb Angwenanas, according to an affidavit that has been sworn in by the investigating officer, is that these particular suspects who are being arraigned today herein is that, according to the affidavit, which states that the applicants herein, on learning of the arrest of their individuals or rather colleagues, went into hiding and absconded duty. And so they're just part of the 15 suspects who are supposed to be arraigned in court today. And of course, I'll be keeping tabs here and updating our viewers on the latest in regards to the KRA crackdown.
Thank you. Seth Olale stays on that story. And I want to wind up with Willie and Vivian. Vivian, I cut you short. You were saying,
yes,
you're talking about how Nakumatt had everything under one roof.
Yes, and variety. So you didn't need to pull your hair out because you're looking for a certain hair product or a certain kind of body lotion or, you know, something like that. Now, okay, yes, Naivas is stocked, but variety is still, you know, missing.
Okay.
So I don't know how they plan on tackling that issue.
But if I understood Willie and Mohammed correctly, you were saying that that sort of business model didn't really work for Nakumatt because you're holding on to some stock for so long.
Exactly. So the whole idea here is what you call category management. And within category management, you're actually going in and checking out, okay, hey, this is, let's say, for example, I'm in jams, and what are the jams that are actually selling? And then there's that particular aspect whereby you find that you sell 3 pieces or 4 pieces, but you have to buy in dozens, but you're only selling that per month. But Vivian is happy because Vivian will be among the 1 person who is actually getting the 3 persons, but I have to invest my capex on 12 pieces. It won't make business sense. So these taglines, it's quite an expensive affair for actually going all that extreme way. So what we make sure you do is basically make sure that you have the best of the premium brands, best of the mainstream brands, and some entry-level brands, and you're 100% sure Vivian definitely will have a substitute, at least within those main ones. You might not get the actual, but this is definitely the product that you'll actually want. And it's the 80-20 Pareto rule, such that you have to look at if 20% is giving you your 80%, do you really have to stock up this? And that's probably one of the main reasons.
From a consumer perspective, then it basically means you don't cater to me.
No, okay. What it means...
It just means that, okay, unfortunately, we can't... I wish we could continue down this path, but unfortunately we can't. We do want to now join Bridget Ngana. She's briefing us on on the Huduma number. We did carry a story earlier talking about how the deadline is Saturday and Kenyans are now rushing to the registration centers. Bridget, what's the situation where you are?
Well, as you've mentioned, Olive, the rush to get this number is still in high course. We seem to be the deadline nation and we wait until the last minute to get this number. Still, Olive, the controversy around this number is that there are those who are saying even if the government has given them an ultimatum to have the number by Saturday, they still feel that it is still within their right not to get this number. And I'm being joined by a lawyer on set who's just going to briefly explain to us why some Kenyans are choosing not to go ahead and have this number despite the government giving them an ultimatum that by Saturday they should have been registered for the Huduma number. Thank you so much. His name is Kipkoech Ngetich. Just tell us, why are some Kenyans choosing not to go ahead and register for the Huduma number?
Thank you very much. As far as I can remember, this is something that has been subject of litigation, and I remember Justices Pauline Nyamweya, Mumbi Ngugi, as well as Weldon Korir, on the 1st of April 2019, have come out very clearly and said the issue of NIM number is something that should be voluntary. In fact, in their ruling, they said, one, no Kenyan should be compelled to take Huduma number. That is very important. Secondly, even as Kenyans elect to take these numbers, even as Kenyans elect not to take these numbers, the taking of Huduma number should never be made a condition precedent to being offered services, being offered goods by the government, social goods or anything. And thirdly, the High Court in Nairobi, through the 3 judges that I've mentioned already, said that the issue of Huduma number is a very sensitive issue. It suspended the taking of DNA, and I'm happy this is not being taken. It suspended the taking of GPS details, because when you look at Article number 31 of the Constitution, the right to privacy is indeed protected. The point of contention here is that we do not have a rigorous, we don't have a robust data protection law that would protect the taking of biometrics, the taking of DNA, and the taking of geographical position coordinates of respective individuals. And for that reason, therefore, that is why Kenyans have an election. It's not compulsory.
Okay. Are you registered for the Huduma number? So today there are people who are coming in already, going on with the process. We're in a room where it's going on. So are you registered? And do you think the government is verified, is justified in forcing people to have this?
I haven't taken the number because the lines have been very long. I've also been fairly busy. I will take it whenever there would be sufficient space in the queuing lines. But the law has been set very clearly. This thing is not compulsory. The 3 judgments in Nairobi said that there should be no timeline. So Kenyans should have as much time as they can to register for this Huduma number.
I spoke with the Deputy County Commissioner for Nakuru East yesterday, and he said if you don't have this number, your life is going to be very difficult as far as accessing government services. And this is what people are afraid of. What do you think about that?
Thank you very much. Nothing can be further from the truth. The services, the goods that we derive from government are not given to us because we are good people out of generosity. These are goods that we pay taxes for. These are goods that are given to us because we are Kenyans. These are goods given to us as humanity. We do not need to have any Huduma number.
Okay, thank you so much. That is a lawyer from Nakuru County who says he's still not registered with the Huduma number. He doesn't feel like he's compelled to do that, and it is within the law. So for those who are maybe afraid or worried that the deadline will elapse and maybe they will not be able to register for the Huduma number, the law protects them in that respect, according to the ruling by a Nairobi court, that this should not be forced upon any Kenyan. But still, Olive, Kenyans are rushing out. The streets are full. The people who are registering persons for this Huduma number are as busy as ever compared to when this exercise started some 45 or more than 40 days back, because it was a 45-day period. Olive.
Thank you, Bridget. Have you registered? Have you taken the occasion to register yourself?
I have. I think I do have my number. I have.
So you're one of those early worms. You're not last minute.
We actually did it this morning in this same room.
Okay.
I think other journalists are still here, my colleagues from Nakuru County. We thank the government for maybe creating a special place where us journalists who are busy, maybe who can come in and register. So any journalist who's in Nakuru County, I ask you to come to the Deputy County Commissioner's office in Nakuru East sub-county, so that's where you're going to be serviced, or any other Kenyan. They are here today.
Okay, the early bird catches the worm, as Bridget Ngana tells us. Now, we go into something quite interesting. I have two people in studio from Oppo. We have Muthoni Wachira, ladies first, of course, who's the Public Relations Manager, Oppo Kenya. And we also have Ernest Tegut, who's the Product Manager, Oppo. So the other day, I saw a lot of people posting online about a launch. What was that about, Muthoni? And why wasn't I invited?
Thank you for this opportunity. So Oppo has a new device in the market. We're calling it the F11 Pro. We also have the mini of it, which is just the F11, but our main focus is on the F11 Pro because it has some very unique features about it, one of them being our pop-up camera. So we are pushing about brilliant portrait in low light. So our phone is really into taking good portraits, and we look forward. And why you didn't come, we'll talk after this interview. Yeah.
Okay, so in low light, meaning when I'm out at night,
yes,
I'll get very good photo. I can take very good pictures.
Yes.
Okay, is that the phone you have on the table?
Ernest
or it's this one, Ernest?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about it other than being able to take good pictures in low light?
Okay.
And you talked about, what did you say about the camera? It's
a pop-up
camera. Pop-up. Can I see that?
Yes. So basically, Oppo F11 Pro has a pop-up camera.
Cool.
So this is the front camera.
Uh-huh.
So the front camera pops up. It's a 16 megapixels camera. Apart from that, the reason why we say we take brilliant photos in low light is because of the dual back camera. The first camera, which is the main configuration camera, is the 48 megapixels camera, which also comes with unique functions such as the ultra night clear scene mode, which when you take your picture at night, it will be able to give you very good quality pictures in low light conditions.
Is there another phone like this currently in the market?
Currently in the market, we don't have any other phone which has, number one, a 48 megapixels camera, and number two, which has ultra clear night scene mode, which enables you basically to take a good quality picture during low light conditions. We don't have this currently.
Okay. So the other day I was reading about a breach on WhatsApp.
Yes.
What security features does this phone have?
Okay. In Oppo, we have invested a lot in terms of the user experience. Number one being as I said, the user experience. We have enhanced our security. So when you go to the device, we have various functions that will help you, the user, to curb these kind of problems in terms of security. Number one, we have a very interesting function called payment protection. Nowadays, we are moving from going to the bank to collect our money onto mobile banking applications. So with this device or with this function called payment protection, it is now able to cater for your security in terms of this. When you activate this program, it's going to give you a keyboard protection. When you're putting in you're inputting your password or your PIN, it's going to curb external malicious softwares or viruses from acquiring this kind of function. Number two, we also have...
So it's protection from hackers?
Protection for basically hackers.
Okay.
And then number two, we also have very interesting function, which is under the payment protection. It is now able to protect your device when you go, for example, to clubs or somewhere like a new place and you want to connect to the internet via Wi-Fi. You are now able to protect your device through the payment protection. So giving you maximum security when you're using your device. Yeah.
All right. And what would you advise mobile phone users to do to ensure the privacy of their conversations? Again, I come back to.
Okay. For this basically depends on the brand of the device. For us as Oppo, we have enhanced these functions to enable you to ensure that you have maximum security. Another function I can talk about is the personal information protection. So with the personal information protection, it's able to protect your device from personal or prevent personal data leakage. So when you're using your device, this is a function, a program that comes with the device. So when you're using your device, you just only need to activate this function. And then when you activate this function, it's going to protect your call history, it's going to protect your message history, and also protect your events, and so on and so forth.
How do these leaks happen?
These leaks happen when basically you connect your device to the internet, for example. So when this happens, you get that malicious software normally get through to your phone through this channel. So when they get through to your phone through this channel, this provides a bigger platform for malicious software to pick certain information from your phone. or your device.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Muthoni, is this part of Oppo's 5-year strategic plan?
Yes, we are setting a different game. Oppo F11 is a game changer on its own level. And one of the things that, if you look at what people are talking about this particular device, is even how it has the features within the phone. It's not your ordinary kind of phone. Even how we have put the price of this particular device, we are at a markup on our own, because this device is going for $39.99, yeah? So convert it to 40,000. So we are competing with devices that are within the market. But what makes it more unique on the 5-year strategy for Oppo is that we want to tell a different Oppo's kind of story. And one of the things about the culture at Oppo is called the Ben Fen culture, doing the right thing at the right time.
Wait, just repeat that?
The Ben Fen culture.
Ben Fen, not Ben Fen, Ben Fen.
Ben Fen.
Okay.
Ben Fen,
Who's
doing
Ben
the right
Fen?
thing. It's an internal coded language.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's the Ben Fen culture where we do the right thing at the right time. So at this particular time, we believe that this device has come about the right time, where also young people are really, into devices, and the camera is one of the things that sets it apart.
Okay.
Yes.
What are we looking at now for the East African region?
For the East African region, the future is bright. Just be on the lookout of where Oppo will be in, just like you said, 5 years' time. And one of the things that you should look up to currently is, I know that you're an Avengers.
I am an Avengers fan, and they've broken records.
Yeah, so the F11 Pro has the Avengers edition. A very cool, sleek phone that I'm sure if you're a Marvel fan, this phone is going to help you unleash the superhero in you.
Okay. Is it just the case?
Just the case, yes, and also just the device itself has also some very unique aspects of it. It is the F11 Pro, but now on an Avengers edition. And there will also be very limited
editions.
Editions. So people can start placing their order.
Where do I go to place my order?
On our site, and also through our shops probably. And then you can do your collection on the 25th of this month.
Okay, your site again? Let me just get that. Let me check that down. Oppo?
Oppo Kenya. www.oppokenya.com. Yeah.
Okay, there you have it. Affordable. 16 megapixel pop-up camera, and then the 48 megapixel back camera.
Yes.
Yeah, plus 5. You said
yes,
plus 5
plus
megapixel.
5 megapixels.
Safety features to protect your personal information, as well as when you're carrying out payments using your mobile phone. Have I missed anything? And a swanky look.
Yeah.
And a swanky new case.
Yeah.
Okay, so we end NTV today on that note. As I try out the camera, can we take a selfie? We'll post it up for you. And we make way now for NTV Sasa. Thank you for keeping us company. So it is oppokenya.com in case you want to get your hands on that limited edition phone. As I said, NTV Sasa with Jane Goiri and Salim Swale coming up.